7-8. Magandang umaga po.
Nakakaingit naman ng iyong photographic memory. It's Justice Mario.
Yan na lang po ang alam ko ngayon.
Good morning po. For my first question, first question po, what lessons, if any, do you take from former Ombudsman Martires' tenure, and how would you use these lessons to guide your own performance when you take up the position of Ombudsman?
I've known Justice Martires for quite some time, and I believe and I have observed his industry and independence. Nakasama ko po yan dahil siya po ay justice pa noon ng Sandigan Bayan at sinasabi niya ang mga problema sa graft and corruption. Unang-una po, yung mga issue ng yung mga delays po. We know for a fact, yan po ang endemic problem, yung issue of delay. At sinasabi niya kung paano nila, anong ginagawa nila sa Sandigan upang mapabilis ang prosecution at matapos ang kanilang trabaho. Yan po ang isa. Pangalawa, yun po nga, as I have said, industry of the good ombudsman, in this work, alam ko yan masipag na magtrabaho si Justice Martires. Pangatlo, umiiwas po yan ng mga controversy, which is one of, I think, good character, yung bang lumalayo siya sa media, as much as possible lang naman, pero but in cases where it is necessary, andyan po naman siya humaharap. At minsan po kumonsulta rin sa akin dahil ako po ay nagtrabaho sa ombudsman kung ano ang aking ginagawa nung panahon nang ako ay nandoon. At akin po namang ibinahagi ang aking mga eksperyensya sa ombudsman upang mapabilis ang takbo ng mga proseso. Isa po yan ng mga issue na binigay niya sa akin noon ay yung issue ng fact-finding. Yung fact-finding po isa ng mga issue. And there is a positive and negative effect ng about fact-finding. Kasi fact-finding is also important to prevent the harassment of a public officer being charged for an offense. Kasi kung idakit po naman natin kaagad ang kaso at hindi naman matatapos at mahusgahan ang kaso, napakatagal po, kawawa po yung public official na nakabinbin yung kanyang kaso at hindi makapag-retire. Marami na pong ganyan. Hindi man din sila, nadi-disqualify pa sila sa JBC, etc., etc., because of that charges that is filed against them. Nahaharas po rin sila. So I believe magkaroon ng short period lang ng fact-finding, evaluation. Yun sana ang sinasabi ko. Pero lately yata inalis na niya yung fact-finding. At diretso, automatic, I have read yung ginawa niya, automatic docketing. Paano na lang yung mga frivolous charges? Ipapile pa natin ito. Dapat naman po ay may evaluation for a certain period of time. Siguro matagal na, sabi na natin 10 days, para naman mapag-aralan kung ito ay meron talagang merito ang kaso sufficient for the respondent to answer the case. Napakahirap po na ang isang kawani ng gobyerno na magkaroon ng kaso. Napakahirap po. When we were still a judge, meron karamihan po, may mga complaint Inaamin ko po yan. Maraming complaint na judicial in character. Judicial in character. And yet, ito, we were made to comment. Abay, yung pagkukomentaryo lang po, palibasa, involved na tayo. Involved na po tayo sa pagkomento. Nauubos na yung oras natin, anxiety, stress, etc., etc. At yung paggawa natin ng komento, makagawa na po tayo ng isang desisyon. Oo, yan. So in other words, what I wanted, sinabi ko noong kay Justice, na tignan natin yung evaluation of cases. Baka naman yan ay frivolous or made to harass the individual. But we have to limit this period of fact-finding kasi we have to limit. Kasi baka naman lalong tumagal ang kaso. Lalong tumagal ang kaso. Noon nandyan din po ako, fact-finding, inaabot na 1 taon. Abay, wag naman. Wag naman isa. Now, ang isang issue yan, kung may fact-finding, yung bang prescription ng offense ay tumatakbo na. Tumatakbo na. Or suspended ang prescription ng offense. That is the issue there. Because it is deemed filed already once the ombudsman received the complaint. Kung automatic docketing. So, meron po tayong issue about that automatic docketing. So far, yan po ang aking na-experiensya with the Justice Martires. And some others, meron din tayong yung Salen. Medyo hinigpitan po ng Salen. Ang sa akin po naman, napag-usapan din namin ang issue ng Salen. Of course, that is a constitutional duty of the Ombudsman to open to the public the SALN of all public officials. But then, ginagamit po ang sa ating SALN kuminsan for harassment purposes. So, we may need some regulation to at least restrict and prevent this harassment intention of the public regarding this SALN. Tama na siguro na malaman ng mga taong bayan na ang isang kawani ay may ganitong asset and liabilities, 10 milyon, 5 milyon, 2 milyon. As to the details, may mga details po na masyado ng pribado. Yan ang kanilang mga minor children, yung mga properties ng kanilang minor children. Abay pati po yung kanilang pamilya. Pangalagaan po naman natin ang ating mga kawani. As I have said, tama naman na ma-open kung magkano ang kanilang assets and liabilities, but let us restrict. Ayan po ang isa sa mga sinasabi ko noon kay Justice Martires.
Maniwala kayo't hindi, yung pong 2 susunod kong tanong, natugunan na ninyo sa mahaba ninyong sagot. So, yun na lang po at good luck, Justice Mario. Maraming salamat, Attorney Cuevas.
Salamat po. Kagalang-galang na Jose Mejia.
Thank you, Attorney Mejia. Our next interviewer is the Honorable Justice Erlinda Piñera Uy.
Thank you, Attorney Cuevas. Good morning, Justice Lopez. Actually, I was gonna say the same thing. Sa very thorough answer po ninyo, karamihan ng tanong ko ay na-cover ninyo. Anyway, let me ask a few questions. You recently mandatorily retired as an Associate Justice of the Supreme Court, a position you held for 5 years and 5 months?
6 months.
6 months. So, kulang ng isang buwan.
Kasi June po ako nag-retire. June.
Oh. You were also a former special prosecutor in the office of the Ombudsman for 9 years.
Yes, ma'am.
Correct. What inspired you to apply for the position of Ombudsman?
Nung ako'y nag-retire po, sabi nila, you have already reached the peak of your career. Siguro, tama na mag-enjoy ka na sa buhay mo. Nung una, inisip ko, tama na nga. Pero nung nag-retire ako, samot-sari ang mga tanong sa akin. Justice, babalik ba kayong magturo? Justice, meron ba kayong intensyon na bumalik sa ombudsman? Bakit sa ombudsman? Kasi, Justice, doon kayo nanggaling. More or less, you already have the experience, theory, practice, what is happening in the ombudsman. So, may pros and cons. Sa totoo nga lang, pinag-isipan kong maigi, kung itutuloy ko ba itong aking pag-apply sa ombudsman. After reflection na naig po, na siguro meron pa akong magagawa, yung tinatawag nilang experience ay akin pa rin magagamit upang magkaroon ng magandang pamamahala sa ombudsman. And for your information, Madam Justice Linda, my stint in the ombudsman for 9 years learned me a lesson how to prosecute, how to handle the prosecution of public officers. Napakahirap po ng may kaso sa ombudsman. Kaya I maintain compassion, independence, at lahat na po yan to do justice. Meron po tayong tinatawag na altruism. Parang bilang tao nananaig sa atin yung altruism yung gumagawa ng kabutihan, tumulong sa tao na walang inaasahang kapalit. Natural po sa atin yan. Especially if we are privileged to be given an authority. We as lawyers already are privileged enough, noblest profession. And not only that, ako po ay naging hukom at naging bahagi ng Korte Suprema. Siguro naman meron pa akong nalalabing panahon upang makagawa at pagpatuloy yung aking mga pagserbisyo sa gobyerno. I've been in the government for 44 years. And the best thing that you can learn or the best thing yung tinatawag na pedagogical tool is experience. Wala pong tatalo sa experience. Theory, hindi po sapat yan. It must be complemented and coupled with practice or experience. My humble self has those experience. Aside from the fact that I was a prosecutor, naging kwan po rin ako, naging state party expert sa criminal law at naging representative po ako sa ating UNCAC, United Nations Convention Against Corruption. Nagkaroon po ako ng pagkakataon upang reviewin ang mga graft and corrupt laws of the country in compliance with the requisite of UNCAC. And at the same time, I had the opportunity to compare our graft and corrupt laws with other countries. Kasi po, if you are designated as a criminal expert doon sa UNCAC, we are given the duty to review the graft and corrupt laws of other countries. We were trained what are the things needed in order to be a member, a good member of UNCAC. Na-train po kami ng isang linggo doon sa Malaysia. And at the same time, after our training, re-review po namin ang Graft and Corrupt Practices Act ng Malaysia. And it was followed by the Graft and Corrupt Laws of Paraguay. Pinag-aralan po namin kung they are compliant with the UNCAC. And finally, kami po ang nagdefenda. We defended our compliance with the UNCAC, especially with the issue of prevention, Chapter 2, Chapter 3, Criminalization, International Cooperation, and Asset Recovery. Chapter 5, 2, 3, 4, 5 yan. Kami po, bahagi po ako noong 2010 and 2011 upang sabihin sa UNCAC na tayo ay compliant dun sa mga requirement being a member of the UNCAC. With those experience, sayang naman po kung isasalimot na lang natin yung natutunan ko, and I am not prepared, in other words, to be put in oblivion.
Justice Mario, yung training ninyo, this occurred when you were an Associate Justice of the
Yes,
Court of Appeals?
when I was in the Court of Appeals, the PhilJA designated me as the government expert in criminal law to represent the country in that UNCAC.
So based on your extensive training, what role should the Ombudsman play in ensuring compliance with procurement laws and preventing ghost projects or anomalous transactions?
Alam niyo po, COA ang unang-una nating magiging gabay. Kasi meron na po tayong bagong procurement law.
Justice, if I may interrupt, you mean ipapaubaya po muna natin sa
Hindi po.
COA?
Hindi po,
sige
hindi
po.
po. Sinasabi ko lang na kaagabay.
Kaagabay,
Meaning,
work hand in hand.
yes,
Okay.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Hindi po natin kaya mag-isa ang ombudsman. Ombudsman is just the lead agency for this purpose, being the defender of the country, the citizen. Hindi po natin, but magiging kaagabay natin ang COA, of course, civil service, at saka itong tinatawag, itong ARTA, anti-red tape, importante po lahat yan, na magiging katulong natin upang makita itong mga ghost project na ito. Pre-audit perhaps is one important and necessary procedure to ensure that there is no ghost project. Hindi po lahat kasi napi-pre-audit. Mayroon lang kasing mga proyekto na kailangan ng pre-audit, but not all. Post-audit na po yung iba. Ngayon, itong mga lalaking proyekto, we should be sensitive and exert effort to guard and secure that they are properly implemented. Kasi po, why I said implemented? Sa preparation po yan. The government involved in that project will see to it that all requirements are complied with. Lahat ng dokumento, TOR, yung tinatawag ng yung TOR, and then all the requisite appropriation, etc., etc. Kompleto yun. Otherwise, in the first place, hindi gagalaw ang project. The second phase, which is the implementation, dyan po tayo talaga titingin kung meron nga bang ginagawa, ito ba ang ginagawa ay in compliance with the TOR. Kung yung mga opisyalis natin at mga kawani natin ay tinitignan itong implementation, palagi ko hindi magkakaroon ng ghost project.
Si Ombudsman po ba ang magaganap nitong implementation, pag-examine ng implementation?
Sabi ko nga po kanina, gabay tayo. See to it, meron ang ombudsman ay meron tinatawag na oversight authority. Oversight authority. Yun po ang aking sinasabing authority ng ombudsman para makita kung meron mang anomalya. Hindi po kayang bantayan lahat ng ombudsman, lahat ng mga katiwalian sa gobyerno, lalo-lalo na ang mga itong mga ghost project. Pero meron tayong mga resident ombudsman, meron tayong participation ng mga citizens, mga whistleblower, etc. Let us all gather, all of them, in this governance. There should be a mechanism to gather all of this. especially these big projects.
Thank you for your very thorough answers. That's my last question. Good
Thank
luck to you, Justice Lopez.
Thank you, Justice Uy. Our next interviewer is the Honorable Congresswoman Jerville Luistro.
Good morning, Justice.
Magandang umaga po, galang-galang na Congress woman.
It is really an honor to be one of your interviewers. You used to be our RTC judge in Batangas.
Salamat po, salamat po.
Justice, for my first question, what does UNCAC stands for?
United Nations Conventions Against Corruption.
Earlier, you mentioned about having reviewed the anti-graft and corrupt laws
Yes,
of
ma'am.
other countries.
Opo.
Based on your study of the same, ano pong nawawala dito sa ating existing law which perhaps make it challenging for the Ombudsman to address the corruption in the country?
So far po, in our review of our graft and corrupt laws, we have substantially complied. We have substantially, especially with the criminalization. Ang problema lang po sa ating criminalization, and it is about time that we codify all graft and corrupt laws. Kung po ang ating mga graft and corruption laws sanga-sanga at hiwa-hiwalay. Meron tayong 3019, meron tayong revised penal code, meron tayong 6713, meron tayong plunder law, hiwa-hiwalay po. Lately, itong ating Anti-Graft and Corrupt Practices Act, which is already 60 years old, and it is no longer compliant with some of the provisions of the cybercrime laws. Nandito na po tayo sa technology. Lahat po ng ginagawa natin ngayon involves the development of technology. Pati po yung mga dokumento ngayon, yan po ay electronic documents na po. And yet, itong anti-graft and corrupt practice, meron pa rin mga falsification o paper documents. It's about time that we should adapt the provision of 10175. Ito yata yung cybercrime law. Ngayon, pinag-aralan ko itong cybercrime law and other laws. Magaling din po ang mga gumagawa sa ating batas dahil hindi nila makita yung paano i-reconcile ng mga samot-sangang mga batas. Ito po ang nangyayari. For instance, sasabihin, all crimes committed with the use of technology or information technology will be penalized 1 degree higher. Yan po ang nakalagay. And pangalawa, ano pa sinasabi? The provisions of this Act 10175 Cybercrime Law will be without prejudice to the other crimes. Kaya ano po nangyayari? Multiple crimes ang pinapile. Sa Ombudsman, meron pong isang simple case of estafa, meron pong isang simple case of malversation. Anong ginagawa? Automatically anti-graft nakakabit. Sabi ko, paano yung janitor nagnakaw ng walis? Walis na naka-account sa kanya. This is malversation, walis. And then, automatically, this malversation, anong pinafile? Automatically, may kaakibat na Anti-Graft and Corrupt Practices Act. Oh my goodness. Kaya maraming napaparusahan. Halagang 1,000, halagang 2,000, umaabot po ng 12 years, 10 years, kasi ang anti-graft po ay 6 years up to 15 years ang penalty. Napakahirap po na ang liit na halaga ay maparusahan ka ng ganon. In other words, what I want to understand is let us review these anti-graft laws that we have and also jive with the development and progress of the country. Wag naman yung maliliit, yun ang pinapalaki. Lately, meron po akong isang kaso. Nagpalsify ng documents at para sa DTR niya, para lang madagdagan yung kinita niya ng 1,000 1,800. Ang penalty, 12 years. 12 years. Review ko po, ang masakit, wala pang lang kasalanan. Acquitted. Acquitted. There is another case, hindi ko na po pending, hindi ko na po sasabihin at baka ma-prejudice. Nag-falsify ng dokumento para ko madagdagan ng 1, 2, 3, 4,000. 4,000. Ano ang charges na pinail? 4 na kaso ng falsification, and then 4 na kaso ng Anti-Graft and Corrupt Practices Act. Total of the penalties, reclusion, 6 years to 15 years ang anti-graft times 4, and then falsification, prison mayor, which has a duration of 8 years times 4 again, 4 times 8, 32, plus that of 15 years. 55 years for that, 1,800 pesos. Hindi na po makatao. Hindi na po makatao. Pero yung po ay pending na pag-iwanan na. What I want to suggest is let us codify all of these laws and see to it that it will jibe with the present development of the anti-graft and corrupt laws of the country. So far, yan pong criminalization, yan pong gusto ko. If I may, Madam Congresswoman, binabasa ko po itong issue ng criminalization ng ating UNCAC and our own laws. Nakikita ko ang direction is more on criminalization. Sa akin personally, mali po. Mali po. We would better lead the path of prevention rather than criminalization. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Endemic ang korupsyon, aminin na po natin, lahat ng bansa. Otherwise, kung di yan endemic, hindi na natin kailangan ng ombudsman. Endemic. So, what can we do? Penalty, penalty, penalty. That should be the second choice penalty. In fact, I am advocating yung tinatawag na TJ, yung therapeutic jurisprudence. Kung po yan. Yan po ang bagong prinsipyo na sa criminalization, hindi lang po tayo nakatuon sa penalty. We will see to it that in the imposition of penalty, we will rehabilitate the people. We will not only rehabilitate the people, but also the country by restoring the trust of the people. Yan ang pinaka-importante sa criminalization. Restore the trust of the people to our laws and to our government. Not necessarily only to sanction and penalize the offender. Kaya nga po, hanggang maaari, yung parusa na makakatulong sa bansa ang ating gagawin. Meron na po tayong community service. That is in relation to therapeutic jurisprudence. Bakit community service? Abay, si professor ganito, convicted. Bakit na-convict? Anti-graft na nagbulsa ng 1,000. Wag mo na maipakulong yan. Mapapakinabangan pa natin yan. Why not render some service to the community? Magturo, etc., etc. And then good conduct of allowance, therapeutic justice po yan, o therapeutic jurisprudence. Yan po ang gusto kong makita. At hindi na lang po tayo penalty, sanction, napakahirap po yan.
Your therapeutic jurisprudence
Yes.
is very enlightening, Justice. For my second question, of course, AMLA should be considered as one among those laws which must be included in the codification. And in relation to the AMLA, if given the chance to be appointed as the next ombudsman,
Opo.
will you advocate for the power of the ombudsman to freeze the assets of erring and abusive public officials?
At present po, we need a court order. Yan, we need a court order. We need to balance the interest of the state and the interest of a private individual. We need to balance the security of the state and that of right to privacy. Yan ho na naging problema natin, yung mga dyan sa AMLA na yan, freezing. Now, I understand there is a bill ongoing na inilagak sa ating, ewan ko kung sa inyo po o doon sa kung sa Senado, to give the ombudsman the power to examine these accounts without a court order. Without a court order. May pros and cons po yan. May pros and cons. Economic issue or consequence po ang magiging problema natin dyan. I would say na if it involves graft and corruption and there is a reasonable ground to inspect this, let us give some leeway and power of the ombudsman even without a court order. Leeway lang. Pero strict, ilagyan natin ng standard. Baka naman po ito ay gamitin sa ibang motivation or ibang interest. Let us protect also our public in terms of this inquiry of their accounts.
Kanina po, Justice, you mentioned about the partnership with the COA. There are COA decisions, and I believe it is a practice to automatically transmit the same to the ombudsman. Kaya lang apparently po, I think a significant number of which pending lang. I am not sure if they are subjected to fact-finding immediately or to preliminary investigation immediately by way of their motu proprio power vested in the ombudsman. The question, Justice, is, would you advocate for the automatic preliminary investigation of the cases, subject matter of the decisions transmitted by COA to the office of the ombudsman?
Palagay ko magkaroon naman tayo ng evaluation. Not to find out kung there is a crime that is committed only, yun lang ang purpose noon. But also to determine naman kung yung bang mga tao involved are really liable. Kasi kadalasan yung mga maliliit ang tinatamaan, yung mga may pirma na pumirma, well, sabihin na natin kasi procedural naman yan, pumipirma na lang as a matter of course, nasasama sa kaso. Because automatic nga po, ang dakiting, pumirma because sinertify that there are funds available in accordance with the appropriation. Ano po ba ang kamalian ng taong yun na pumirma lang ng certification that there is an authorized fund? And yet, because of the automatic docketing, preliminary investigation, napakahirap po. Mr. Ganito, pumirma ka ng ganito, file a counter affidavit. Diyos mio, Diyos ko naman po, patawarin nyo naman yung tao na yan, ginagawa lang niya yung kanyang trabaho, tapos kakasuhan nyo. You will get the proper result, whether you will be indicted or not through the preliminary investigation. Naku po, sa preliminary investigation, gagawa ka ng counter affidavit, kailangan mo na abogado, hindi naman pwedeng hindi ka mag-abogado, gagastos ka only to be excluded when the complaint is filed before the court. Bakit hindi naman natin bigyan po ng konting panahon ng ombudsman para tignan, evaluate? Yan po naman talaga nandun po sa ating administrative order nung pang 1990, panahon pa po ni Justice Vasquez, meron talagang evaluation. Ang problema lang po sa evaluation, kung minsan nagtatagal at gumagawa ng fact-finding. Let us put a period for that in order to find out who are the persons really liable for the offense.
Justice, I understand that you spent most of your career in the judiciary.
Opo, opo.
To be particular with the Court of Appeals and the Supreme Court, where the administration of justice is by collegial body. So, if I may ask Justice, how do you envision yourself administering justice as ombudsman, which is the sole magistrate in the said office?
Para niyo pong tinatanong, Madam Congresswoman, para niyo pong tinatanong, mas mahirap ba ang maging huwes o maging ombudsman? Para pong ganyan natin. Well, actually mahirap ikumpara yan para tayo nagtatanong anong nauna, itlog o manok. Dahil ito pong husgado, you have rules and regulations, lalo na sa collegiate body, meron kang sasandalan. Tutulong sa'yo kung ang desisyon ay tama. Lalong-lalo na ang Korte Suprema, ito, 15 tao na nandyan sa likod natin, upang to examine whether the decision is correct or not. Napakasarap po na kung ang desisyon ng ponensya ay may full concurrence of the court. Parang wala kang problema na yung desisyon mo ay mali dahil 15. Pero pag ikaw ay ombudsman, nag-iisa ka to decide the matter, kung minsan magkaroon ka ng agam-agam, tama ba o mali yung aking ginawa. So, in terms of justification, whether you did the right thing or not, yun na lang ating morality, yun na ating konsensya, doon na lang tayo magre-rely. Tama ba ang ginawa ko? Samahan po natin ng dasal, samahan po natin ng eksperyensya, kasamahan po natin ng objectivity, we can be relieved that what we did is the right thing to do.
Thank you, Justice, and good luck on your vision of becoming the next ombudsman.
Alam niyo po, nung makita ko kayo, naalala ko po ang Batangas. 12 taon po ako sa Batangas. Kung minsan, pag nandoon ako, nakakausap po mga Batanggenyo, pati yung tono ko, nagiging Batanggenyo na rin because of the 12 years stint in Batangas City. Pati pa pagkain, nagugustuhan ko na. At humbly, I will say, kilala niyo po ang Judge Mario Lopez sa Batangas. Alam ko po, naririnig niyo ako. At alam niyo kung gaano po ang ginugol kong panahon sa Batangas City at ang industry that I have rendered when I was a judge of Batangas City.
I truly agree, Justice. You actually left a mark. You etched your mark in the Hall of Justice of RTC Batangas.
Salamat po.
Thank
Salamat
you.
po.
Thank you, Congresswoman
Ito,
Luis.
isa pong Batanggenyo ngayon ang susunod po at dalawang Batanggenyo po ang susunod ngayon. Dalawa po, si Professor Pirme and Justice Mendoza, mga taga Batangas po yan. At I am confident malalaman nila na I serve Batangas Province, Batangas City with all the kind of industry, competence, and most of all, the integrity as a judge.
Our next interviewer is the Honorable Attorney Nesauro H. Firme.
Thank you, Attorney Marife. Good afternoon, Justice. So I have two sets of questions. One comes from the good senator. Isa lang naman tanong ni Senator Alan dito. So what would be your position on the lifestyle check So as you know, it has been in the news recently. No? So what is your take on that?
Kanina po binanggit, at salamat pa Ginoong Profesor Pirme. Maganda pong tanong yan. Kanina binanggit niyo po yung tinatawag na prevention, as I have said. Now, ito pong mga SALN, ito pong mga lifestyle check, these are red flags to supervise that there is an ongoing wrong or some irregularities. Wala pong masama. Wala pong masama. Kung tayo mag-lifestyle check, kung nakikita natin ang pomposity ng isang tao, extravagance ng isang tao, kung he is a government official, under our ethical standard, we as government employees should live a modest life. Kung tayo ngayon nakarelo ng Patek ano ba yun? Patek Philip ba yun? Or ano? Or nakakotse tayong Lamborghini. Siguro naman, there is some, hindi ko naman sabi irregular. So there is some irregularity. And this will trigger the governance that there may be something wrong. So lifestyle, so long as it does not affect the privacy, respect naman yung privacy, may be done discreetly to see if there is something wrong and there is something to be done by the Ombudsman to prevent further the commission of graft corruption at hindi po siya gagayahin ng mga ibang tao. Kasi kung nakikita na, si ganito, pasensya na po, ayoko magbanggit ng profesyon, si ganito, bakit ganyan? Siya ay isang opisyal lang ng custom na security officer, bakit mayroong ganito, ganyan? So at least may red flag tayo para hindi nagayahin ng iba. But as I have said, discreetly with all the necessary respect of due process, especially the respect to one's privacy.
Thank you, Justice. So this will be my set of questions. There are about 10 and I hope we can accommodate that.
Professor, sige lang po at handa po akong mag-recite. Kagabi po, nag-aaral po ako, Professor.
These are actually, Justice, a same set of questions to all applicants. So just to be fair with everyone, since I've been asking
po,
them.
Professor, wala po problema maski...
So number one is if appointed as the Ombudsman, Justice, what can the stakeholders expect from you? Just brief, no? Because I know you personally, Justice.
What can they
Stakeholders
expect me from the stakeholder? Dalawa po ang masasabi ko. Competency and ethics. Competency, madali lang po. Competency, yan po yung natutunan natin sa eskwela. Competence. Ethics, yan po yung ating reputasyon, which we earned. We did not learn, but earned in the conduct of ourselves. Ethics, which is marami po kasing sanga-sanga na virtue ng ethics eh. But it all boils down to one thing, integrity. Integrity. Gusto niyo po bang
No. We can attest to that. Diba? There is no need to...
Meron lang akong gustong sabihin about integrity at saka ethics eh.
Yes. If you want to explain something about
if
that.
I may quote Professor Firme, ang sinabi niya yan, the success of our justice system rest upon the robust standard of ethics. Ayan
That's
po.
in my book.
Yan nga po. Gusto kong ipagyabang na nag-aral ako at baka mapag-recite ako ni Professor Firme. At Yang issue ng ethics can redound only to an issue of integrity. And from that integrity, sanga-sanga po na different canons of other SIPRA, gaya ng independence, propriety, fidelity, accountability, equality. Yan po. At bilang abogado, we are bound by this SIPRA. And if we enter the government service, Section 28 of Canon 2 regarding propriety under the SIPRA requires that we should abide also with SIPRA in addition to the requirement under 6713 regarding the conduct of a public official.
Sige. Since speaking of these two characters, justice, independence, and integrity. So first question, well, technically it's the second question is, was there an instance where your integrity was put to test? And how did you navigate through that?
Professor, sa palagay ko, lahat po ng tao, hindi po perpekto. May mga panahon na pinagdududahan tayo. In my career in the government service, mostly in the judiciary, meron po tayong motion for inhibition. And once there is a motion for inhibition, I took that as a red flag that somebody is questioning my integrity. And more often than not, I will answer that I am a person of integrity. Sasagutin ko yan kung bakit ako dapat ang magdesisyon. Ang pag-recuse or inhibition is the last resort. Yan po ang ginagawa ko. Pag motion for reconsideration ng issue, questioning my integrity, more often than not denied. Kasi I will stand with my decision because I know I decided the case with all the integrity required, independence, etc.
How about independence, justice? You mentioned that. No? Was there an occasion where, or can you tell us an instance where you displayed your independence? Meaning to say there were persons who tried to influence you and yet you resisted.
Meron po. Tayo po naman, kung nasa poder, maari po yung litigants will not come to you directly. Hindi po. Sino ang pupuntahan nila? Yung mga taong malapit sa atin, kaibigan, kapatid, kamag-anak, yung bang hindi mo mapagsabihan ng hindi. But of course, hindi naman po pwede na i-compromise natin ang ating desisyon. Kung mayroong mag-pressure sa akin, kamag-anak, kaibigan, and it is not among those people who under the law, a judge or an authority should disqualify themselves. Meron pa akong antidote dyan. Antidote. Pag yan ay kamag-anak or sino, sasabihin ko sa iyo, okay, tulungan natin. I will assure, dapat maging sincere po tayo sa sasabihin natin. I will assure them that they will get the justice they deserve. I will see to it that I will be independent in deciding this case. Kung hindi man ako magre-recuse, that is the antidote that I always said. I will be independent and I will see to it that they will get the justice they deserve. That word, justice they deserve, is too tired or twofold. Double-edged yan. Justice they deserve, if they are not liable, fine. If they are liable, then they will get the kind of penalty that they deserve. But of course, I have the discretion to mitigate or aggravate the penalty. guilty. Yun po lang ang masasabi ko tungkol dyan.
Thank you, Justice, for that. At present, you are living a private life. And I think you've been doing that for the...
Sarap nga po eh. Ewan ko nga ba kung
So are you
bakit
ready? The question is,
may
are you
mga tao
ready?
pang gustong isabak ako sa labanan.
Oh, yun na nga. That's the next question actually. Are you ready for another public life? You will have bodyguards with you, Justice. Are you ready for
matagal
that
kong pinag-aralan yan. I ask my family, I ask my friends, my pros and cons po. Sayang naman daw po yung aking eksperyensya, sayang naman po yung aking competence. Bakit hindi natin pasukin yung itong very, very sensitive position? Pamilya ko, they are divided. Yung anak kong abogado, sabi niya, we will defer to your judgment, sabi niya. But if I were to ask, you are qualified to be an ombudsman. But we will support whatever your decision is. Meron naman isang kabi, huwag ka nang pumasok dyan, Justice Lopez. You have nothing more to prove. You have reached the peak of your career. Why risk another position that might affect your personal, whatever is that personal history, etc., etc. But then, sabi ko nga kanina, meron tayong tinatawag na altruism. Alam mo yung altruistic, Professor, is innate in us, yung tumulong. Makakita po tayo ng nasa kalye na naghihirap. Minsan o madalas automatic gusto nating tumulong. To me, that is altruism which is inherent upon us. More so, sabi ko rin kanina, if we were given a privilege, noblesse oblige, yan po ang sinabi ng isang French philosopher. Being a person with authority, being a person with privilege, you are also obliged to recompense that privilege that was given to you by the state. Noblesse oblige. Naniniwala po ako doon sa prinsipyo na yan.
Next question, Justice. Well, you've been in the Supreme Court. So how do you value public perception?
In terms of good governance, public perception is indispensable. Pakinggan po natin. Bakit? Kasi governance for the people, sila ang stakeholders. Bakit hindi naman po natin sila pakikinggan? At any rate, they are the end of what we are doing in governance. Pakinggan po natin sila. Paano natin malalaman ang kanilang problema kung di natin sila pakikinggan? But there is a matter that cannot be swayed by perception of the public. Yung mga decision-making that will entail the judgment of a certain right or person, dapat po maging objective na tayo dyan. Kasi ang perception is subjective. In deciding cases, we should be objective. The rule of law requires the foundation of evidence to see that the right thing is done and this is proven in the court. Wala po tayong magiging basihan in our judgment kundi yung evidence. Lumayo ka sa ebidensya, magkakaroon tayo ng problema. Mawawala yung independence natin, kikilingan mo ang perception which is subjective in character. Alam nyo, Professor, meron po akong isang experience sa Batangas na hindi ko po makakalimutan. Hindi ko po makakalimutan yan. Ang perception ng public, that person accused is guilty. Maraming bumubulong sa akin, Judge, yan po ang pumatay kay ganito. Judge, siya po. Pero nung nagbista na po, iba po ang lumabas. It has a doubt, circumstantial evidence. There is now a doubt whether that person is the one liable or the culprit. Against the perception of the people, ano po ang ginawa ko? Dahil nakita ko po ang ebidensya, kulang, there is a doubt. I have no alternative but to acquit, despite the perception of the people. Pero ito po nangyari, kaya hindi ko makalimutan. 3 days after that person was released, pinatay po siya. He was killed. And then, ayan, another perception. Sana hindi na lang inakwit ni Judge. Sana baka buhay pa yung tao na yan. For a time, nagkaroon ako ng anxiety, but knowing the rule of law, knowing my objectivity, yung konsensya ko malinis. That is the foundation of judgment, the evidence. Sabi nga ng isang principle, contra factum non vale argumentum. Against the fact, there is no valid argument. Kung ito ang ebidensya, walang argumento na makakaiba doon sa kinaratnan ng ebidensya. Yan po ang isang experience ko sa Batangas. Barako po kasi ang mga Batanggenyo. Barako po yan. And if you are doing your job, yan po, masasabi ko ng harap-harapan sa inyo, if you are doing your job in Batangas City, you are impartial, you will get the respect of the people. And I got that respect because I can straightly say I was doing my job in accordance with the law as well as my ethical standard.
Yeah. Well, Justice, no, I'm sure in relation to that incident in Batangas, you had public criticisms.
Of course.
How did you handle public
Of
criticisms?
course. Tayo po nasa gobyerno, meron nagkikriticize. Masakit man aminin. Yung nagagawa nating mabuti, hindi nakikita ng tao. Ang nakikita ay yung kamalian. Masakit, hindi ba? But I will not take that something that will affect my independence. I will take that criticism constructively. Tama ba itong perception ng mga taong ito? Baka naman talagang ako ay gumagawa ng mali. Baka naman dapat gawin ko ito, etc., etc. And that will serve as a gauge of my moral courage.
Okay. Justice, let us assume that you are now the
Sabi
new
ko na nga ba,
ombudsman.
magre-recite ako rito kay Professor.
Just few questions. Just to be fair to all applicants.
Sige lang po, Professor. Handa pa akong mag-recite.
But these are good questions because
Yes,
you have
sir.
the feeling of the new ombudsman.
Hindi po.
Let us assume it
feeling lang po.
is already 2029 and you are the new ombudsman. Okay. So as we know, there's a new
29.
president. 2029, there's our new president, right? Kasi 2028 ang presidential election. So 2029, there's a new president. Di ba?
Bakit?
Let us assume you are now the ombudsman.
Lumayo po tayo bakit 2029?
2029, you are now new ombudsman.
Sige
I
po,
have
Professor.
5
Sige po,
things in
Professor.
mind. And I want you to rank them based on the most significant as far as you are concerned. Number 1 being the most significant. Number 5, least significant. So these are the 5 things in my mind right now. Number 1 is the president that appointed you to this post.
Isulat
You
ko
have
nga
pen?
po.
Okay.
Isulat ko lang po para
Sige.
malinaw. President,
That appointed you to this post.
appointing power.
Yes.
Okay.
Number 2 is the new president. It's 2029.
New President.
Yes. Number 3 would be the public, including their perception, the public
Public
perception.
or stakeholder siguro
Yes.
yan, Professor.
Yes, sir. Number 4, the safety of your family. As you know,
Safety of your
marami
family.
ka ng bodyguard by then, no? So that you will be receiving threats, kaya may bodyguard. Number 5,
Number 5,
your personal goal.
personal
Goal. Yung iyong mission of becoming the next ombudsman.
Unang-una po, I will be truthful and honest. Tayo po ay may kanya-kanyang ambisyon. Tayo po ay may kanya-kanyang kagustuhan kung anong gusto nating mangyari kinabukasan natin. In short, itong personal goal ang aking unang tatahakin. Ito po ang dahilan kaya ako po ay nasa harapan ninyo. I have a personal choice to serve the government. I was not compelled by anybody to come here. It is my judgment, my decision to apply for this position with an intent to pursue my vision and mission in becoming an ombudsman. Number 1. I will be very frank also that I will take the safety of my family in achieving the goal that I have, mission and vision. Bakit po? Ako po ay nagtatrabaho, nagpapakahirap for my family. Ang pamilya po natin is part of our life. Mawala ang pamilya mo para mo na rin pinatay ang sarili mo. Gusto ba natin mangyari yon? Yung purpose safety? Kasi mawalan ka ng kapatid, mawalan ka ng nanay, etc. Baka yung personal goal mo hindi mo na ma-achieve. What for? What for? What for is your life? Is if you have no one, a loved one to share with. Meron tayong kanya-kanya. Now, of course, the third one, doon na tayo sa stakeholder because this ombudsman is the defender of the people. This ombudsman is something, a position sensitive for the country. And the president appointed you not for his benefit, but for the purpose of the country, the stakeholder. So you must be true with that objective of the president to serve the people. Bakit sa presidente? Hindi po personal. Naniniwala po ako na ang presidente ay nag-a-appoint ng ombudsman for the people and not for his own aggrandizement or for his own interest. After all, if he will appoint a wrong ombudsman, magre-reflect yan sa kanyang governance, magre-reflect yan sa kanyang personality. Kaya ang president, whether the president who appointed you, new president, it does not matter anymore because you as ombudsman must exercise the independence free from any pressure, including the person who appointed you.
Thank you for that.
After all, ito pa nga, bakit after all, yung pati president? Kasi po naman, kaya nga kayo pinili, dahil naniniwala ang presidente sa inyong integridad. Ang presidente po, naniniwala ako, na hindi yan mag-a-appoint ng person who is not qualified. Kasi nga, sabi ko, magre-reflect yan sa gobyerno, sa kanyang governance, kung sino man yung kanyang i-appoint.
Yes, thank you for a well-explained reasoning.
Pwede na po bang
Justice.
pumasa sa recitation?
Pwede na. If I can give you 200, di ba?
Salamat po.
Next question. I'm sure there will be a lot of public officials who would be instrumental in your appointment as the next ombudsman. So would you have the nerve, the guts to file cases against these public officials?
Public official who will support
Who would be instrumental
in
getting this post?
assuming
Ombudsman?
I will get the post.
Let us assume.
Let us assume. Alam mo, Professor, natatakot po akong sagutin yan. It might preempt my appointment. Dito tayo, nagpapakahirap ninyo akong interviewin. And then I will say, I will prosecute them. Ay mapiprejudice yung aking appointment. Kawawa naman ako. But I will answer that anyway. Siyempre may utang na loob tayo sa mga ganong tao. Aminin natin, sa kultura natin, yung utang na loob hindi naaalis. But yung utang na loob, madaling sabihin din na, minsan may narinig ako, personal relationship ends when my duty begins. Madaling sabihin. Pero gawin natin, napakahirap. But then, being a person with ethical character, ethics, integrity, meron tayong talagang there is an end to such relationship, to such, even if it involves the appointing power. As to whether I can prosecute them in the remote event, ayan kasi talaga naman as much as possible, hindi nga natin may utang na loob. But in the remote event, there are two things that I will do. If I cannot inhibit myself because under the law, pwede po naman mag-recuse, mag-inhibit. But hindi po tayo ganun na tumatakbo sa labanan eh. If there is a ground to inhibit up to 4th civil degree, and there is or a personal relationship that you cannot exercise your independence, then wala na tayong magagawa but mag-inhibit. If we cannot inhibit ourselves, this is what I will tell to my supporter. Pasensyahan na po tayo. But, ito na yung sinasabi kong antidote kanina. But, do not worry. I will assure you that you will get the kind of justice you deserve. We should be sincere in saying that. And in saying so, we must do that promise to any person, not necessarily the people who will support you. And with that kind of antidote, with that kind of answer, palagay ko, even those people who supported you will respect that answer or decision.
Thank you, Justice. Last question. No? You are now the ombudsman. I always make you feel that you are. So what significant event in your life would make you decide to quit this post?
Madali po yung sagutin. Hindi na po ako magdadalawang isip. If kanina po tinanong niyo sa akin, what are the character or qualification that you have? I said, number 1, competence. Number 2, integrity. If I am no longer competent, wala na po. What's the use of staying in that office if I am no longer competent? And secondly, my ethics, my integrity is already destroyed. Wala na tayong integridad upang magsilbi biyang alangan namang ipagsiksikan ko pa ang sarili ko kung hindi na ako pinapaniwalaan ng tao. I am no longer credible. I am destroying myself. Yung tinawag ko kaninang personal goal will be self-destruction. If I will insist to stay in that capacity where I am no longer have the necessary, indispensable qualification.
Thank you, Justice. That will be my last question. And thank you for answering the questions. Interviews tend to humanize all applicants.
Salamat po.
Thank you, Attorney Firme.
Alam ko naman, Prof, na you are one of the professors whom I idolize pagdating dyan sa ethical standard. Kasi nagturo po rin ako. Gusto ko rin sanang gumawa rin ng libro ng ethics, kaya lang wala po tayong oras.
Tsaka wala nang bibili ng libro ko.
Hindi po. Mabibili po ang libro ninyo dahil mas magaling kayo pagdating dyan sa ethics. No, but modesty aside, I like what you stated, which I quote before, that the success of justice system rests upon the robust ethical standard. And ito po, I quote din, kasi naging professor po ako. Naging professor po ako ng 30 mahigit na taon. More than I have devoted my life to teaching, practically. 44 years po ako sa gobyerno, sa teaching po, almost 40 years. And if I may, I have more than 100,000 students already by now. And nakita ko po yung inyong philosophy that ethics should be taught to lawyers. And it is in their formative years that they should learn their ethical standard. And that formidable years is when they are still students. Kasi while they are still student, wala pang sungay yan. Pwede mo pang diktahan, pagsabihan, bulyawan mo, matatakot. Kung hindi na yan estudyante, abogado, matigas na ulo, bulyawan mo, wala na siyang pakialam. And I agree that in that formidable years, dapat matutunan ng ethics. Kaya magyayabang lang po ako ng konti. Hindi naman po ako Batanggenyo, bakit ka mayabang? Kaya po, nung ako po ay chairperson ng bar exam, I instilled upon the 2024 bar examinees yung principle of ethics. And when they took their oath, dinikdik ko sa kanila the mandates of ethics, lalo na ngayon. Hindi lang pera pinag-uusapan. Dapat we have an ethical standard. And I made ethics as an acronym for all the character of a person, yung ethics. This acronym refer to education, T, technology, hindi na natin mawawala. Ang edukasyon po ay sa abogado, panghabang buhay. T, technology, kailangan na po natin. H, humility. Huwag po tayong magyabang dahil abogado tayo. We should be humble that we are lawyer. And then I is integrity. And then C is for compassionate. Tao po tayo. Be compassionate. And lastly, in-specify ko yung last letter, S, service. Of course, we lawyers know that lawyering is not a business but a profession. Kaya ako stressful ang aking pag-define at pag-discuss ng letter S sa ating ethics, service. Alam yan po ng ating congresswoman kung ano ang ibig pong sabihin ng service sa tao. At ang pagserbisyo, we should not expect a compensation for that. Salamat, Professor.
Thank you, Justice.
Thank
for
you
that.
po. Thank you. Our last interviewer is the Honorable Justice Jose Catral Mendoza.
Thank you, Attorney Marife. Naubusan na ako ng coverage.
Akala ko, Justice, sabihin, thank you, Attorney Lopez.
Attorney Marife, you are the Benjamin of our group, the retired justices of the Supreme Court. Kasama ko siya retarded. Siya ang pinakabata. yung aking mga naisulat dito, medyo na-cover na. Like, is your application supported by your family? Sabi niyo, hati. So, yung iba, na-cover na.
For your information, Justice, as I have been saying, hati. But this morning when I left the house, my
Pumayag
wife
na.
kissed me and said, "Good luck."
Oh, pumayag na.
Well, I don't know, but she said, "Good luck." And I got inspired.
Kaya pala ganado itong pagsagot. Oh. Naubusan na ako. Pero may tatanong lang ako. About NGPA, you mentioned that. New Government Procurement Act, you mentioned that earlier. There are key amendments. I think you are aware of that. To what amendments do you disagree with?
Aaminin ko po sa inyo. Binasa ko po lang yung highlights ng bago natin kasi kailan lang po ito eh. In fact, pati po yung ating yung ating implementing rules. Hindi pa yata natatapos yung itong ating new Procurement Act eh. Procurement Act. But the highlights of this new Procurement Act is transparency. There are procedures that were added from the old to ensure the integrity of the procurement.
Saan kayo nagdi-disagree?
Bunga.
Meron man.
Aminin ko po, nakita ko po lang po yung highlights na binago. And I agree with the highlights that were provided. At hindi ko pa, aminin ko, nakita yung mga nitty-gritty ng ating batas na bago yung bago po. So far, hinahanap ko rin po yung good faith doon regarding yung refund and reimbursement by those who were benefited by a wrongful grant under the procurement law.
Anyway, you covered transparency. Yung pinaka-importante doon yung shift from the lowest bid to the most economically
Yes,
advantaged
tama po.
bid. Matagal kayo sa ombudsman. How many years? In your
siyam na
experience,
taon po. Tama
in
po.
your experience in the ombudsman, what can you say about that?
I agree po eh. Hindi porke mura po yun na ang the best quality. We should not choose the cheapest instrument or property to ensure the expense of the government. We should also include the durability, the standard, service, etc. of the qualities of the product that we wish to procure. Gaya po ng kotse. Itong isang kotse mura, saan gawa? Gawa po sa Vietnam. Electric car, ano ba ang reputasyon ng electric car gawa sa Vietnam? If we read the standard, the quality of those made in Vietnam, marami pong depekto. In Vietnam alone, nung nagpunta ko ron, nakita ko itong isang electric car stalled in one place, tinutulak. Electric car, hindi naman pwedeng itulak dapat yan. But yet, marami. At if we will procure an electric car at ang pinakamababang presyo based from that standard pricing, I would not suggest that we get an electric car coming from that country. I would rather consider a study what is the most durable in terms of service, etc., etc. And that will justify the procurement, different from the kind of procurement we had under the old procurement law. That is one.
I can see your point there. Last night, this I observed, I asked several applicants about the state of corruption in the Philippines, and most of them said that it is not endemic, it's merely prevalent. Only you stated that it is endemic. Why do you say it is endemic? Why not merely prevalent? What is the distinction between the two?
Endemic po yung perception ng mga tao, not only domestically but internationally. Nakita ko po, kasi yung perception ng tao prevalent eh. Prevalent. When we say endemic naman, it depends naman din yung seriousness.
What is the difference between the two?
Siguro yung prevalent sa akin eh, kwan lang po yan eh, yung perception nga po ng tao eh.
It's
But
perception.
endemic, what I mean by endemic is based on the objectivity. Objectivity in the sense that nakita ko po yung index ng ating Transparency International. Nandun po tayo sa number 34. 100 po ang pinakamataas. And Denmark is something like 98. And we are in 34. Of course, we are better off from other countries in Asia. We are better off. Accepted yan. But this corruption, ano ba ang corruption in the highest level, lower level, etc. Sometimes, yung ating kultura nakaka-apekto rin sa corruption. Yung padrino system, pakikisama system. Ano pa ito? Yung utang na loob. They may be, even if it is debatable kung morality ito, or considered corruption. But in some countries, they consider it as a corrupt practice because it affects the independence of the public officer. So, that is one of the reason, kasabi ko, endemic, based from the index, not my personal perception, based from the index. Of course, if you ask my personal perception, yun nga, sasabihin ko, it is not that worst. It is not that worst. We are better off from other countries.
Okay. That was my last question, Justice. Thank you very much. Your excuse.
Thank you, Justice Mendoza. Thank you, retired Supreme Court Associate
Huwag mo na
Justice
sabing retired,
Mario V.
sabihin mo lang
Lopez.
Attorney Mario Lopez. Alam niyo po, pag sinasabing retired, feeling ko matanda na tayo. Feeling ko po, hindi pa naman po, makikita niyo naman si Justice Mendoza, si Justice Linda. They all look good and youthful looking. Salamat po.